when we follow the commandments of God, it's very important. We will see that we will develop so many virtues in our lives. What are virtues? Good habits. We live good attitudes. So we live a virtuous life. That's why we need to review what are these virtues that we develop when we follow the will of God. These are the cardinal virtues. Prudence or wisdom. What is prudence or wisdom? Being able to put into application your knowledge. You know, there's a difference between, there's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is right here in the head, but wisdom is able to bring what is in the head into your heart. They say that is the longest distance, really, from the head to the heart. Very few people are able to really travel from the head to the heart. Okay? So that is wisdom. At any given instance, you are able to determine the right action to take. So, application. Everything that we have taken up so far would be meaningless if we do not know how to put them into actions. What did James say? Faith without action is dead. So it needs to be translated into our action. Let's see the definition of prudence in the Catechism. That's paragraph 1806. 1806. Prudence is a virtue that disposes practical reason to discern our true good in every circumstance and to choose the right means of achieving it. It is prudence that immediately guides the judgment of conscience. There you go. It makes you develop a good conscience. We took it up last time. The prudent man determines and directs his conduct in accordance with this judgment. With the help of this virtue, we apply moral principles to particular cases without error. See? Solomon so wisely chose this as a gift from God. Wisdom. So in our life, it is always good for us to develop that virtue of prudence or wisdom. The opposite, of course, is folly. And then another cardinal virtue that we develop when we know God's guidance is justice or fairness. I'm sure we all know what is being fair to other people. You give somebody his due, right? Justice is a moral virtue that consists in the constant and firm will to give their due to God and neighbor. Justice toward men disposes one to respect the rights of each and to establish in human relationships the harmony that promotes equity with regards to person and to the common good. So you give to everyone what is due here and what is fair. Of course, the opposite of that, the opposite is the vice. If you have the virtue, we have the vice as the opposite. And the vice of justice, of course, is injustice. Okay. Right. Very important virtue now. Fortitude or courage. This is, you are able to develop a will to stand up and determine your will to be with God. No matter how many times you have come across so many obstacles or even sometimes fell on the way. So it is your firmness in your resolve for good to rise whenever you fall. Sometimes we just give up. We don't give up, especially in your spiritual life. You say, "Oh my, I've committed such a grave sin. I'm a hopeless person. I cannot recover from what I have done." You can always recover from what you have done because God's mercy is unlimited. Unlimited. So paragraph 1808 says, fortitude is a moral virtue that ensures firmness in difficulties, no matter how many times you fall. It's not by the number of times you fall that you are accounted for, but it's the number of times you rise from your fall that what you're really accounted for. Okay. And constancy in the pursuit of the good. Determination. It strengthens the resolve to resist temptations and to overcome obstacles in the moral life. There may be a lot of obstacles along the way, but you have the determination to overcome. And you say, I want to follow your will only. I will stand up. I have failed. I am not going to give up. Lord, give me the grace. I am going to stand up for you. Okay. And then, very important again, virtue is the virtue of temperance or self-control. I think I've mentioned this to you. The natural tendency of man is towards evil. And you know, the roots of all evil can be traced into three: lust, pride, and greed. Okay? That is, we are all inclined to elevate ourselves at pride. We're all inclined to lust. We're all inclined to acquiring so much wealth and gaining so much honor. Right? Now, this is where a real virtuous man can stand out from all the rest, because he has mastery over his inclination, mastery over his passion. So this is what distinguishes us from the animals who just act by instinct. Now, here you are, you have this inclination, but you are able to be in control. Not by your own power, of course, but by the grace of God. So 1809 says that temperance or self-control is the moral virtue that moderates the attraction of pleasures and provides balance in the use of created goods. It ensures the will's mastery over instincts and keeps desires within the limit of what is honorable. It is called moderation or sobriety. We ought to live sober, upright, and godly lives in this world. Beautiful virtues, the perfection of the human character. Those are the cardinal virtues that we develop when we follow the will of God and we obtain the grace of God.